We know we ask a lot from our patron and support network, and we are always so grateful for your generosity. In these challenging times, it's even harder to raise the funding we need to serve our community and achieve our goals. So we're always looking for new ways to maintain our revenue without adding additional burdens to our supporters. Today, we're excited to share a great opportunity that can really help our community and requires no additional out-of-pocket from you. We've partnered with the Liberty Company Insurance Brokers and their Liberty Cares program. Liberty Cares is simple. You already make monthly payments for your insurance needs, whether it's auto, home, or for your business. For every line of insurance you move to Liberty, they will donate 25% of the commissions they receive on your policies back to our cause. And under this special partnership arrangement, that donation will come to us again and again every year you keep your policy with Liberty. Often, you'll be able to move your insurance into this program simply by signing one form. It's that easy. The Liberty Company is one of the nation's largest insurance brokers, and they've won a number of recognitions for their excellent operations and workplace culture, so you can rest assured that you will be well taken care of. If you would like to learn more about how this new partnership with Liberty can help turn your insurance dollars into much-needed funds for our community, please visit libertycompany.com/libertycares, or shoot them an email at libertycares@libertycompany.com. And please be sure to let them know that you're part of our community so that they will credit the benefit of your policies back to our organization. Your ongoing support is much appreciated, so thank you in advance.
Hello, hello. Welcome to Brady Bunch of Autism.
Happy
Hey,
Friday.
hey.
Happy Friday, everyone.
Happy Friday, Navah.
Happy Friday, Matt Asner.
How are you?
I am pretty good.
Yeah?
Pretty good.
Doing all right?
Every day I'm taking it. I'm not taking it day by day. I'm taking it minute by minute because I'm still struggling with this dang headache. I know you don't care, but
No, I do care.
I know I have a lot of people who care about me out there.
I really do care. I really do. She's had
Gary cares about
She's
me.
had this headache for months.
6 weeks.
Okay.
6
so not
weeks.
2 months, but 6 weeks.
And it gets a little bit better and then it comes back. And I have a lot of triggers. As people know, I have a lot of triggers. But one of my biggest triggers are these fluorescent lights. And so, I don't know.
Now, what is it? Is it a pulse thing?
I can hear them. I can hear the fluorescent lights.
So you have like a fluorescent sense.
Huh?
You have a fluorescent sense.
No, there's something about fluorescence. It's really common, actually. It's a really common trigger.
You're sensitive to fluorescence.
I'm more than sensitive. It gives me it's a trigger for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stop staring. You're such a weirdo.
So how are we doing?
In life?
Yes.
In life, in love, in finance.
So we got my dad the second shot.
That was I'm so glad you did that for him.
Yes, and your mom has the second shot as well. And
yes,
I was able to work my magic and do both at the same time.
Oh my God. He had nothing to do with it.
Well, that's not true. I
took
it. But we got them back.
Yes.
So
yes.
That's a good thing.
And that's, I mean, no matter what people say about the shots, they are immune compromised. They're delicate. They're older people. You know, they needed that. And just mentally, I know that my mom feels kind of that she was in that kind of fear factor spin. And because she was in a 24-hour facility, I think it was worse, but she kind of needed this to feel like she could go out into the world. And I think that's really important for a lot of people to feel like they're being shielded in some way, whether it's just, you know, the case or not. And that's all I'll say about that.
And your mom was a little fatigued,
I think she had a little
bit of a reaction.
She didn't have such a wonderful experience as Ed. Ed, you said didn't have any reaction at all.
He had no reaction at all.
I've
been calling him like probably every 2 hours, and I've been saying, "You all right? You all right? Yeah, I'm fine. No problem. No problem." So
that's really unusual. I've heard
okay.
that the second shot.
Well, for anyone,
most people that we've talked to have had some kind of not a good feeling afterwards, and some extreme and some mild, but almost everyone I've talked to has had some reaction after the second shot.
But if anyone's not going to react to the shot, it's him.
Bulletproof Ed.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 91-year-old bulletproof end. So, and he's doing well. And
So maybe you'll be like that because you're exactly
think?
like your dad. Yeah.
you think?
Very
Okay.
much. I'm married to Ed Asner.
And Shelby Landucci just got her first shot.
Yay!
No reaction so far.
Shelby.
So hopefully that'll continue for you.
But keep us posted, Shelby, because we want to hear how you are. Oh, well, this is her first shot, though. So usually,
Yeah,
you don't
usually it's
react.
the second one. But so who's our first guest?
Our Ed Asner Family Center social director and my buddy. I've known Chelsea since I think the 2nd grade, and now she's a full-grown woman. Like,
That's right.
so I'm so proud of her, and I'm so proud of everything, especially that she's done during the pandemic. And
Thank you.
no, but really keeping the spirit alive of so many of our teens and adults, young adults and adults with autistic adults. And I've had so many people reach out to me and say how much they look forward to it, how much fun they're having, how they've connected with so many other people. And, you know, you're supporting the community. And that's what I always dreamt for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And doing it with the Ed Asner Family Center.
Yes.
And so one of the big ways she does that is she hosts 2 movie chats. You know, I guess 2.0 is bi-weekly, right? Or bi-monthly.
Yeah, 2.0 is every other Sunday.
Every other Sunday. And so that's the more adult version. And then every Saturday at 7. So this is at 7 o'clock on Sunday. And on Saturday at 7, you have Movie Chat 1.0, which is a little more of a family
all-inclusive.
All-inclusive
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, and it's hard picking movies for 1.0 sometimes because, like, some movies, they're like in the middle ground. So for tomorrow, we're discussing Pursuit of Happiness. And I was debating whether it should be 1.0 or 2.0. And I decided on 1.0 because it was a very universal story.
Okay.
It's pretty depressing, though. I couldn't
It's
even.
really uplifting at the end. Like, it's a very
You know
uplifting.
what? I didn't finish it.
I don't remember
turned
this
it off.
film. What is
It's Will Smith and his actor, the son who plays his son, or an actor who plays his son,
I don't think
and
I
he
ever
becomes
saw it.
homeless.
Oh, wow.
And then he somehow, I cut it off at that point because it was just so hard to watch. But Chelsea said it ends on a good note, and I think it's based on a true story, isn't it?
It is based on a true story. It's a success story, and that's why I chose it for 1.0. And I feel like it would be a story people would understand. Listen, there's Disney movies that have sad.
Of course.
I mean,
I could see Dumbo a million times, and when Baby Mine comes on, I become hysterical.
And
Yeah.
Mia Max says the end is worth it.
Okay, Mia, I'm going to watch it again. I love Will Smith. Chelsea, have you seen The Sound of Metal?
what is that?
It's a story
Really
about
good
an
movie.
incredible, like almost punk rock drummer, and I can't remember his name. He was in Edge of Night or something. He's an incredible actor. He was nominated for a Golden Globe in these last Globes. And
the guy's a chameleon because in the HBO film,
I think he was in one of the Star Wars movies too.
Oh, I think so. But in every film he's in, he's this
Different,
completely
totally
new
different.
character that you don't recognize. So it's
He's
a wonderful
he's
thing.
this drummer, and he wakes up one day and he's completely deaf. And so he is also an addict. So he's afraid because this is such a traumatic thing. His girlfriend is afraid he's going to fall back into the addiction. So she sends him to a deaf community to learn how to sign, but also it's with other addicts. Such a beautiful movie, so sensitive, and a lot of deaf actors in this movie. I mean, the majority of the actors, all of the actors except for the lead were deaf actors.
And I'll say, you know, we watched a couple of bad movies in a row, and watched this movie after that, and my comment to Navah as it ended was, now that's how you end a film, because most films don't know how to end. They just don't know how to end.
It was beautiful.
It's an impossibility. So, but this film really knew how to end. So we recommend it highly. So tell us what this Saturday night, 7 o'clock, what we're in store for.
That's a great question. As I mentioned earlier, tomorrow at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, my movie chat group will be discussing The Pursuit of Happiness, which you can find on Netflix. If you want RSVP, because space is limited, just email Shelby at teafc.org.
All righty.
Indeed,
And
there
when
it is
is
right there.
when is our next for the more intense viewers 18 and over 2.0? When is our next 2.0?
That would be not this Sunday, but next Sunday, and that movie has not been chosen yet.
Great. I love how there's always this discussion like, oh, has the movie been chosen? And she puts polls, and
Yeah.
it's really fun. And it gives, again, Chelsea, you're giving these guys this community. So even though they can't be together in person, they really don't feel like they're alone all the time. And I really am so thankful for you that you created this.
And the really cool thing that Chelsea's doing now is she's starting to kind of incorporate guests into movie chat.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had, who was the first one we had? Forgive me.
The very first one we ever had was my friend Laura Morano.
Laura Morano.
We've had Joe Montaigne. We've had Howie Mandel. And then for my 2.0 group, we had my friend Joey King.
Mm.
And more coming up. We're going to talk about that this week.
That's right. I have, hopefully she's still on because I've been in emails with this person. I'm going to keep it a surprise, but it's someone, this person is famous. You might not know their face, but you will certainly know their voice. That's the clue.
So it's an animated film, maybe.
Awesome.
Oh, okay.
I'm excited.
All right. Maybe Erica, our next guest, knows that person. I don't know. So cool. So lots of exciting, fun things coming up for Movie Chat. We can't thank you enough for doing that.
Thank you.
Consistently and so well. You're such an amazing ambassador for us and for the community. Can't say enough about you, Chelsea.
I love the color of your walls, Chelsea. I love the color.
Thank you.
Super cute.
Do you like our wall?
Oh, I love your wall.
Yes. Our wall. We chose the up wall this episode because of our next guest. Really, I mean, she's a Pixar person, so we just decided to make it a Pixar day.
Make her comfortable.
So, yes,
feel at home.
Exactly. So, thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful weekend and have fun at Pursuit of Happiness.
Thank you.
We'll talk soon.
Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye. So
Chelsea was doing a campaign about the SIA to get her globe taken away, which in the end it was kind of a moot point.
Well, the fact that she was up for one, I think, is interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Well, it seems like there weren't a lot of musical. I mean, they didn't have a lot to really choose from, but
what won in that category?
I mean, the host just reamed her in the first line of that.
Was pretty rough.
Very, very harshly.
But I have to say though, it couldn't have been a highly watched Golden Globes.
Yeah, it was weird.
It was pretty lackluster.
It was weird. And the sound was like, I felt so bad for them because their first couple guests, it kept dropping out and oh my gosh. The producer was probably pulling their hair out.
Very happy that Soul won.
Yeah.
And
they won more than once.
They did. They won twice. They went for music too, which is great.
That was wonderful.
Awesome. And I love that movie. That movie was really an amazing film. And a pretty heavy topic. I mean, I thought some of the beginning. I'll save this story for Erica, but it reminded me. There's a story in Kabbalah about the guff, where the babies go before they're born, and I wondered if they had got that idea. Well, why don't we bring her in and let's talk?
All righty, let's talk to Erica.
So we're going to bring in Erica Milsom.
We haven't seen Erica. Guest. Hey, Erica.
Hi, guys.
So much
it's
we haven't talked to you for so long.
I think it's been like a year and a couple of months because I feel like you were in Elf and Santa outfit. I have to say, like you guys.
No, I mean the last time we saw you was when we were still doing our community events, and you came for our community night.
Oh wait, that was like a Christmas thing.
It was our party.
Yes, I have only met you two outfitted as holiday.
Yeah, I was Hanukkah Harriet.
And I was
and
Santa.
he was Santa.
That's
yes,
right.
It was awesome. So it just is funny. I was like, oh yeah, the last time and only time I've ever met you was a costume. So you look very nice in your normal selves.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. This is how we really look. Actually,
I wear my
it's not how we
my
look.
safety orange every day of my life.
You met us how we really look. This is our disguise.
That's awesome. I would love that. You just walk around in Santa in a Hanukkah Hannah.
Exactly. That's our everyday dress. So, wow, this is it's great to talk to you again because it's been about a year. And so when we met you, the film was just premiering on Netflix. Or not on Netflix, on Disney Plus. Sorry.
Yes.
There you go.
Scratch that line.
He hasn't had his
Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like Google, isn't it? It's like wow. So it was just premiering on Disney Plus, and wow, what an amazing ride you've had with it. I want you to tell us a little bit about what the last year's been like, and so let's set up the story a little bit here. So the Loop is about a severely affected young woman. Nonverbal, who
is at camp.
Is at camp and has this relationship with the counselor that is really special. And tell us a little bit about how you came up with that idea. Because
cool. Okay. Yeah. Well, I came from a background working in special education as like a non-formal educator when I was in my 20s. So I'd worked a lot with folks with disabilities before I started working at Pixar. And just so you guys know, I came into Pixar as an assistant editor in the documentary department, working on making of Nemo. So Nemo,
that's right. You were doing like the DVD material.
Yeah, kind of like the behind the scenes and things like that. And Andrew Stanton, who made Finding Nemo, wanted to have a real documentary made about the story versus like kind of a promotional thing. So they needed a documentary editorial assistant. So anyways, I've been there since that time for about 15 years. And but prior to that, I had worked a lot in like non-formal education all around the world, but in San Francisco in the disability community. So I had a lot of exposure to different kinds of folks who move through the world differently or have like a different sensory or communication experience. But honestly, I didn't know most people's diagnosis at all when I met them. So unless it was like a really visibly apparent situation, like I didn't know if I was meeting a person with autism. I just didn't know these things, right? I just had the experience of helping them find volunteer jobs and hanging out doing non-formal education type work with them. And I actually think this is an asset almost on my part, is that I've had really, really positive experiences with people with disabilities, learning about them, not necessarily about them with the big, universal, it was just like one person to one person. Like this person is speaking, this person doesn't speak, this person, is very talkative, it's like these interesting differences. So then when I started working at Pixar, I was there for about 15 years and I actually ended up kind of burning out. I make a lot of work on the side. Like I have a job, it's very busy, intense. And then on the side, I have a creative, I tell stories on the side in film as well. So one year I was like, I really need a little like halftime year. And that year I took Mondays and Fridays off from Pixar. And after about a month of it, calling my husband on Monday and being like, I'm sad, like not having to go to work. I'd be like, I feel sad. And he's like, it's because you miss your friends. Like you have a team of friends that you work with at Pixar and you feel kind of lonely. So why don't you just like find some new friends that's little. And I started working at this nonprofit called NIAD, which is an art center for adults with disabilities.
Yeah, I know it.
Oh, do you? Okay. Yeah, I love NIAD. And it's mostly visual artists, but I was like, hey, can I teach a class on acting for the camera? And while I was there, I met a lot of people who were non-speaking. And it re-inspired this thing that I had, felt in my 20s and honestly in my youth, because we had a nursing home that was kind of a de facto location for a lot of adults with disabilities as well. And they didn't have any day programs where I was growing up in the 70s in Colorado. So I just met a lot of people around town who were folks with differences. And I feel like when you're in a space that's kind of boring, like Windsor, Colorado, and everybody's very conform oriented, like where I was from, there was a lot of like sense of like, this is how you want to be in the world. Like those folks didn't conform, and they made my world feel exciting and fresh and different. And like there was something bigger to be as a human, or different to be as a human. So I really always enjoyed that experience. So when I came back to Naiad from Pixar, I was like, wow, I love being challenged in this way of like, I don't quite know how to make a connection here, but there's a lot of interesting artists here who don't speak, who don't make eye contact, who are, I'm not sure how to negotiate a relationship with yet. As I found it along the way, I was like, oh, this is such a great, it's just like such a great lesson in being a human being and being around human beings,
Well,
but I think, and the natural way, like this kid was kind of like, he was kind of mad at his counselor, the head counselor, for putting him with this girl who everyone thought was like weird. And his organic kind of relationship with her was so sweet, because he was almost scared of her in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then he was annoyed with her.
Well, the unknown is scary.
Yeah. But then he was annoyed with her.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he's like, you know what, I'm just going to be here for you. And it was such a wonderful, I mean, that's the way you would teach any person who is supporting somebody who needs more support.
And I think what you said earlier, that you didn't know how to communicate or how to
and neither did he.
And that is so present in the film. And we're going to show a quick clip of it, because we have a clip. And so we have a clip. So we're going to show a quick clip, and we're going to come back and talk about the clip and more about Loop. So here it is.
Okay, now do it. The ringtone. You like it? Yeah, me too. It's, like a good place to be when there's too much other stuff happening out there.
So what's so great about that clip is that's a real moment of connection for them. It's that they both go into this place, and he understands exactly what she's going through. Kind of. Yeah, but he understands the moment where he really understands what she's kind of going through.
It's funny for me. Can I talk about that for just a moment?
Absolutely.
Okay, because I really feel like I want it when she shows him the reeds, and he has this there right before this. There's a moment where she finds a way to direct him to her favorite place in the lake, and then it's these high reeds, and if you touch them, you can tell she has the feeling, and that is me. I mean, I love that feeling so much, like that. But I think this feeling that this boy who's like, a 14-year-old boy, doesn't normally like reach out and let things touch his bottom of his hands and feel vulnerable, like that she allowed that for him. I think it's like, this is what and it was hard to figure out with Loop. It's like, we always wanted to let Renee kind of have as much presence. Like the two of them were it was co-leads. It's not like Marcus is learning this one lesson. Marcus is learning some lessons and Renee's learning some lessons. And I think like her allowing him to feel that feeling reminded him of that place where he feels feelings too, like a safe space that has like a real beautiful sensory experience that he wanted to share. So I think it was so fun thinking of those things that you're like, this is really cinematic, it's really emotional, but it also is really like true to kids,
And it was so subtle. I mean, there were so many subtle, beautiful moments. And, for people who don't understand nonverbal people, I think it's really important. And for people who do understand it greatly, it's even more important, because we've had so many people reach out to us after the first time we all got together and said, oh, we were so happy to finally see a depiction of somebody who was more like our child. And not more like, our child.
And let's talk about that. So the nonverbal community has not traditionally been represented in Hollywood, in film. What led you to make that choice of making this main character nonverbal?
It's so interesting because it was, I was thinking about like, what would I do that would be a good film to do for kids? Like what would be something that Pixar hasn't done? Because I knew I wanted to pitch for a Spark short. And I was like, oh, Pixar has done so many within, inside, outside, in the water, outer space. Like, there's a lot of worlds. And so I just started to think about, I really did think, well, what's a world I've been in that other people haven't? And it was that world of like the Disability Art Center. It was like this amazing space where like you are a little bit off your center. And I thought about that world and I'm like, oh my God, one of the things I love about that world is like the noises and the sounds and like the interesting use of assistive devices. And like, these are things that would be interesting to see animators take on. Like, to see animators taking on nonverbal communication, I think is really powerful. And they work nonverbally all the time, right? Like, so many shorts are pantomime shorts where they're about a character that's expressing themselves without dialogue. And I was just like, well, we have people like that in the world who never see themselves on screen, and also who we could really use a little bit of insight into their characters.
Right.
To me, it's like, first it was really cinematically driven. I mean, to be, very frank, like I love the inclusion of it, but I really was like, what's going to be interesting? What's going to challenge animators? What's going to push our studio? And then when I thought of that, I was like, this is I feel so honored that I was able to do that and that I was able to use this space to acknowledge that humanity of folks who are non-speaking. Because I just feel like the more I learned about them, this is the thing, I didn't know anything about autism in the beginning. Now I have been taught a lot in this wonderful way where like autistic people have told me so much about their lives. And then families of people with autism, autistic people have like come to me and told me about their lives. And I feel like now I have so much more insight than when I started. But I do think that curiosity and that sense of like, oh, there's a human next to me. Like now kids who've watched this, they can like the film, they cannot like the film. But if they've seen the film, they understand this is just another person in the story of humanity. Like, I think that's a really profound thing to add. Like, here's the story of humanity, and he's just another person that you might meet on the street, and you don't have to be afraid, and you might just take some different strategies to get to know them. So,
well, we have a comment here from a mom. My twins love Loop, and then it has a character with autism like their big brother.
Oh, thanks, Amber. That's so cool to hear. I really appreciate that.
So you must have you've been around screening the film. You've been in festivals, I'm sure. You've had a lot of interaction with people. Well, probably not like up close and personal, but that was a year ago.
We were. I think it was last Christmas because it came out. So we were in LA. The reason I got to come to your center was we were actually showing it at El Capitan for sort of like the Oscar qualification, so we could qualify all the Spark shorts. And then you guys were having your party that night. And then it went on, I'm pretty sure that then it went on
Disney Plus.
On Disney Plus in January, the following, this 2020, right?
See, I got it right that time. That time. So,
time's very yeah, who knows?
I'm a quick study.
And as you notice, Matt kept his Santa Claus beard.
I know, I love it.
It doesn't come up.
The reason I asked that is because wow, what a year! You released the film in a pandemic year, which maybe isn't so bad for a film that's resting on Disney Plus. You must have interacted with a ton of people who have watched it. How has the reaction been? I'm sure they really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been so powerful. And I mean, I think that's the funny thing. Most of the time when I make films or make pieces, I don't get to see the audience or hear what they think about it. Even when you do festivals, you see like 30 people in the room or whatever. But like, I feel like Disney Plus has this massive, it's amazing. I'm getting like notes from Brazil, getting notes from Japan, getting notes from China, and also from the United States. And I think it's fascinating because like I got a lot of notes from families, and right in the beginning I was like, yes, families of folks who are non-speaking and kids, little kids who they were just like, I think that the presence of someone like their child, like it meant so much because it took away the burden of like always having to create the space for your kid to be there and accept it as a part of the human. This is really like that weird thing, like a family member or a friend sometimes you have to be the person who's creating the space for the child with autism who might be non-speaking. And I think having a film to point them to, or having had that exposure to the film, like there's a little bit more space there, and the burden becomes a little less intense of saying like, I have to create space, right? Because hopefully the society's getting a little more space just because of that. So there's that. And then people just like being so excited to see themselves. And then what I really loved though was when the autistic community started talking back to me, and they were like, I speak, I'm an autistic person who speaks, but your representation of the sensory experience, of the communication experience, of the stress of this and the responses, and like that they just felt like we got it right, and that it was important to them, that was presented in a way that was respectful and honest, that's like my 100% goal, right? Like I want to entertain people.
The biggest compliment. I saw a wonderful back and forth on the autistic self-advocacy site, kind of platform, and they were going back and forth and very complimentary, and that, they can be a tough crowd. So,
well, and I think there was an article in Hollywood Reporter, I think it was Hollywood Reporter, about a week and a half ago, like right around the Golden Globes, and they were talking about music. They were talking about that film and the problems with that film. Mm-hmm. And they pointed to your film and said that this is a film that really got it right, and that really understood.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they really sang your praises. So I don't know if you've seen
article?
that, but
that's
I was very. I see them all because I'm always afraid, like that, because when you do, I'm a person who's not autistic. I'm also not a person of color. I'm not a boy. So I feel like a really strong drive to do my very, very best to be honest, to be respectful, to listen. Like the biggest thing for me was like, I wanted to listen to autistic voices and really steep myself in that experience. Because I knew when it's just two characters, like Renee's point of view and the fact that she has agency, but it is a different kind of agency than we've seen in characters before. Like that was super important to represent. But you're still taking a chance. You're like, it's not me. I don't know. So every time I read something, if I read a critique, I want to hear the critique too. Like I want to learn and grow from stuff. But it's been really gratifying to also not have as many like negative critiques and have a lot more positive coming forth about like, no, you got it right. You're like, oh, okay, good. Well, that's great.
Come on, Erica. It's never fun to hear negative critiques.
It's not fun, but I do listen.
No, I know. But as a filmmaker, it's torturous to read those, isn't it? I mean, come on.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Well, and there's some artists who just like don't read or don't think about them. I think like for me, Pixar has this very deep notes process, like where you present a piece, you listen to how the audience received it. And for me, and then you adapt it to make sure that it's as wonderful and entertaining. But for me, it's also like you listen to how the audience received it and you say, like, was that my intention? And if it was, or it wasn't, then like, can I change it to make sure it matches my intention? And if they're like, you were super I haven't gotten this, but like, you were super insulting and you did something that hurt me, I also want to listen to that and say like, oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Of course.
I want to grow. Like, I think that's the thing. It's like, you get to grow. You get to make the next one.
Exactly. But like you said, you hope that comes out in the note process rather than the critique process. So, but I congratulate you on that, because that's a huge thing, especially in this community. To get that kind of seal of approval, I think is really special, and you deserve it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, that these Spark shorts, there are two.
I was just going to say,
there are two shorts,
two totally different autistic point of views, but just there's equally sensitive too. Equally sensitive.
Yeah, there's Loop and there's Float, and Bobby's a great guy. He's been on the show before, and he's a friend. Cool. And it's you guys are the dynamic duo in terms of these shorts. It's pretty amazing. So can I plug Bobby's for just a moment? Because they actually put Float onto YouTube recently for the Asian Awareness Month or Week, which is it's such a beautiful film, and it features a Filipino lead character, and in reaction to so much violence around the Asian community, they
put both Float and Wind up there on YouTube. So you can see them whether you have Disney Plus or not. And you should definitely go to it because they're both great.
Well, and I just saw I saw Bobby posted something about this, that it got like 500 million. Is that right?
Yeah, it was crazy.
500 million views.
I think it's 10 million right now. It was 5 million and then it jumped up to 10. Maybe it got 500 million now. I don't know.
No, I might be adding a zero. I don't know.
That just adds a zero.
I'm hoping that Bobby gets 500 million views. But 5 million is pretty good too, right?
Yeah.
But it's a great short. And if you're at home and you haven't seen these shorts, it's easy to do that. You can go to, well, for Bobby's film, you can go to YouTube and look it up on YouTube. I think it's there for a little bit longer. But for Erica's film, Loop, you go to, and Bobby's film, you go to Disney Plus and you just put in Loop and it's right there. If you go to the short category, it's there. It's worth your while. It's a beautiful, beautiful film. And we thank you, Erica, for making it.
Such an important film. And like Erica said, the kid who watches that, who when if ever we go back to school in person, he's going to think differently of that kid that he walks by who's just sitting there because he doesn't speak.
That's a very important point. That a lot of times we kind of look the other way, or people look the other way, and they don't want to kind of notice that. They don't want to notice it. And this is such a sensitive and beautiful way of showing people what this is really like, and that this is an intelligent, caring person that we should all pay attention to. So it's definitely an awareness. It's a very important awareness film, I think. And I think honestly it should be shown in schools because I think it shows the a natural reaction of, like you say, a 14-year-old boy. This is how he would naturally react. And it's so sensitive, but it's also very realistic. And we have teenagers, we know, and because we have Camp Ed, and I've seen pictures of you in a kayak. Is this connected to your passion of kayaking?
Yeah, that was the one thing I was like, oh, I want it to be a happy story, so I have to put it in the happiest place in the world for me, which was canoeing. But now I kayak is like kayaking.
But I think I saw you on a stand-up paddle the other day. Weren't you stand-up paddling?
I have a bunch of friends who stand up paddle, and then I do the kayaking most of the time because I have a stand up paddle board with a chair with a seat on it, like a kayaking seat. And so
the water has been freezing. We went to Laguna last weekend, and the water was probably in the 50s. It was free. I went all the way in. He's a landlubber. He doesn't go.
I love you guys. You're so LA. You're like, the water was free. I'm like, in Northern California, we're always freezing, and so like you get used to it. But I actually, if you guys don't mind, if you don't mind, if people do go watch it, click on the extras, because one of the things that I love about Loop is that we were able to work with a non-speaking autistic actress whose name is Madison Bandy. And when you watch the behind the scenes, you get to see both me kayaking or canoeing, but also you get to see Madison and a little snippet of the creative process that we went through with her. And she's just such a beautiful person. Her voice is so amazing and evocative. And I think it's really fun. That thing is as exciting to people sometimes as the documentary, as the film. Like, they love the documentary so much because I think it shows this idea of inclusive filmmaking, which is also important, that we learn how to inclusively create things together. So that one's, and she's in Madison.
That's answered a lot of questions we've had, as people have asked, did they use an autistic actress? And now we know.
And you heard it here first.
Yeah. Well, you have to go to the extras.
So go to the extras and you'll meet that young woman.
What would we have done without Disney Plus this past year? I don't know. I don't know what we would have done.
Thank you for recovering my mix-up in the beginning of the show.
You're white-bearded. I watched getting older.
I watched Disney
have to
Plus.
give him a break.
I watch Disney Plus so much more than Netflix right now. I got to tell you, seriously, we're like WandaVision, all about that.
So, I'm Outlander. He's WandaVision. I'm Outlander.
I love it.
So, Erica,
for some reason, the two towers. I don't know why. We're like going back to Lord of the Rings at my house.
I own all those films.
I love them.
I have the extended versions of those films, and I can put them on and leave them on, and they could just be my whole life.
I love them too.
I love it. But Erica, my last question: do you have the ringtone on your phone?
No, because I know it's sad. You know what I did was I did it through haptic. I need to download it. I got very busy when we put it up, and I haven't. So I have it. It plays back as a haptic, like. So I feel really bad. I should pretend. I wrote that ringtone though. I have to say, I was riding my bike. I was riding my bike to work, and I was like, "Oh crap, we need a really good ringtone." Like the thing is all about the ringtone, right? And I was like, "What's a good ringtone? What's a good ringtone?" and then it'd be woof woof woof.
It's perfect.
And I sang it to.
I hope you've released it. I hope it's releasable. I hope it's released.
It is. It's actually, I think there's 2 places. It's on the Thinking Person's Guide to Autism. You can download it from there. And then I think it's also on like Apple, some Disney thing. I'll send it to you guys so you can, like, there's a Disney site where they put it up as well. So everyone can hear the ringtone.
I like that as my ringtone.
I know.
So, well, Erica, what's up next? What's next for you?
Well, I'm working on a series now for, I have a couple of inside Pixar. Like I went back and started working again in the department that I normally work in, and we create stuff for Disney Plus that's about the studio life and creativity. So we did Inside Pixar. 2 of the collections have come out, which is one is called Inspired, the other one's Portraits. And we have 2 more collections coming out this year. And then I'm working on another, like a longer form series that will be out, I don't know when, at Pixar. And then I have projects on the side. So I have 2, one kind of hybrid animation, live action. I like a busy beaver. It's true.
Okay, yeah. Busy beaver.
Yeah, because they are. So, well, this is awesome. I can't thank you enough for joining us. Thank you for your brilliance. Thank you for your creativity. The autism world owes you a big thank you.
Definitely.
And can't wait for the stuff you do soon, the series you do. I can't wait for it. And we thank you.
And hopefully we'll see you again in person when all this craziness is over.
I love the Ed Asner Family Center. I really loved coming out and meeting you guys in person. So you do wonderful work, and it's so cool that you've adapted to virtual. So congratulations on that. And
thank you, Erica.
Thank you, Erica.
Soon, and we can all get our congratulations.
Talk soon.
Okay, bye.
Take care.
Erica Milsom. The film is Loop, and you can get it.
Don't forget to watch the extras
on Disney Plus, and don't forget to watch the extras. And I think that is it for us. I think we're going to wrap it up early.
Okay.
Because that was like a really amazing, wonderful.
How do you can't go on after that?
Show.
I forgot to ask her the question.
What?
About?
Well, I don't think she worked on Soul.
Okay.
So, you know who
I'll
we
have
can
to ask.
You know we can ask Pete Doctor.
Yes.
So, but that's a good question.
Oh, you're such a name dropper. I apologize, audience. Okay. On that note.
Well, look, we'll see you back here next week.
Yes.
For another episode of the Brady Bunch of Autism. And until then, we say, what do we say?
Shabbat Shalom.
Keep your seatbelts fast.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye-bye.